Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Monkey here for MMOBomb.com, and welcome to our first impression gameplay video for Dragon's Prophet, a new action-based MMORPG that's being developed by Runewaker, the same company behind Runes of Magic, and is being published in North America by Sony Aligned Entertainment and in Europe by Infernum. Now, I'm going to spend about 30 minutes or so checking out the game, making my usual style of commentary. If you guys want to learn more about the game, I highly suggest you check down below at MMOBomb.com for the full game profile. So to start off with here, I'm going ahead, of course, to go through the character customization options available in the game. There are 4 different classes for you to choose from, and you may be thinking, well, 4 different classes, that's pretty low. And you're right, it is not very many options to choose from, but keep in mind, the dragons are sort of the main focus of Dragon's Prophet. Obviously, it's in the name. There are over 300 dragons for you to collect, train up, mount, use as pets and warriors. And so that's going to be the main focus of this MMO. These classes sort of serve as just like a general subset, defining how you're playing your character overall, whereas the dragons will sort of augment that with their abilities and whatnot. So the Guardian here, again, typically melee DPS using 2-handed weapons or 1-handed with a shield. The Ranger is your range physical DPS. Oracle is probably the most unique out of the 4 classes. He or she, because it isn't gender lock, you can't be a female, of course. They deal in medium to close range magical damage, and they also enhance their allies and their companions with additional buffs or heals, etc. You get a lot of healing and buffs through your dragons themselves, so even the Oracle isn't really a direct healing class. And then, of course, we have the Sorcerer, which is the range magical DPS. So very much, your standardized classes here. In terms of your customization options, you actually do get quite a few. You can change everything from the color, of course, to head size, body height, torso, etc. A lot of the options that you would expect or find in MMOs like Aeon, C9, Terra. And you get a lot of different sort of tabs here to break down everything from the facial options to the eyebrow shape, the eye, the nose, the mouth, and even the ears. You can make them like really long, but I can't really see them behind this hair, although it does push his hair up quite high. You can randomize this, of course, so you can sort of just go through here and change everything. That's typically what I do at MMOs. I just randomize everything until I find something that looks interesting. But if you're not actually game for that, you can choose preset options which allow you to change the overall look of your character and then move from there. So you can go from something that looks like Gimli from Lord of the Rings to perhaps a faux-hawked, pink-haired Asian dude. You can go both sides of the spectrum, looking a lot like an Asian MMORPG facial features, all the way to Western facial features that don't look very anime-ish, I guess you could say, with big eyes and whatnot. Of course, you have the same options for female as male, and then once you've actually created your character, you can choose between 2 starting area zones for you to begin your quests. Now, both of these zones actually possess separate quest lines and separate enemies for you to fight, but I'm not really sure they affect the gameplay outside of the initial sort of newbie zone. I'm pretty sure once you progress past that area, you are then thrown into the same area for both sides. No 2 factions, only 1 faction right now. However, there is guild PvP in the Frontier system, which is basically a open world sort of sandbox environment whereby guilds can place in real world areas housing and structures that they can inhabit and sort of try to maintain and control certain zones. But that's at higher level. You're not going to see that at low level here. So I'm level 10, as you can see here. I already have trained a couple dragons, which I'll show you that system. And in this case, I already have a couple of quests that I've been completing. Vanna Scavengers are what I need to kill currently, and that's sort of a good starting quest to sort of explain how everything works in terms of combat, and also what you can expect from just the questing in general. Now, your dragons, once you've actually not summoned them, you have to summon them rather, but once you've gone ahead and tamed a dragon, it acts as a mount that you can summon at any time, but it also acts as a combat pet that will last for a certain amount of period before it goes ahead and gets removed or basically disappears. Once it's disappeared, it seems like it goes on some type of internal cooldown before you can actually summon it again, but you could have multiple dragons out at a time if you wish. One thing that I have noticed is a lot of the minions here, especially in the early game, they don't really scale well. A lot of times I found minions to be very easy to kill, and other times I get absolutely destroyed by them. You'll also notice there is a lot of knockdowns you're going to face from these enemies. Practically every enemy has some sort of knockdown. And sometimes you'll notice your little drakes or dragons, etc. will glitch out and not actually attack anything. Keep in mind, this game is actually currently in closed beta. It's set to go in open beta on May 30th, where you guys can check it out. But one thing you'll find is there is a lot of glitches currently in the closed beta. You'll see everything from tooltips that have just random numbers and that'll say system or something like that. Everything from that to complete descriptions missing. You'll find your pets sometimes will say random things like level equals 0. So there's a lot to be changed and updated in the game. And it's sort of one of my main concerns of the game, seeing that the open beta is so close. And generally speaking, from past experiences, open betas have always been indicative of when the full game will be released, or sometimes even they act as though that is the full game release. So I can actually hit tab here to summon my current dragon, which will act as a mount. Different dragons have different mount properties. Some of them are faster. Some of them can swim, like this drake right here can actually swim in the water, while other ones can actually fly or even glide. So there is a difference. Now you may be wondering, well, why is this a dragon? This doesn't have wings, this doesn't breathe fire, etc. And it sort of deals with the lore of the game. I asked that question during a sort of beta press event that occurred earlier this month. And the developers essentially stated that due to the lore, there is some type of dragon that mated and was fused with several of the different species of lizard type creatures around here, which created all these wondrous and varied different dragons for you to actually tame. So that's sort of how they got away with it. Now I can summon this dragon here, which is my, I guess you could say, wyvern, and he actually will glide here. So if I get up to a very high area, I can glide down on top of people and start fighting. I also have a ability. Some dragons, as you can see here, will have abilities, although this animation is a little bit wonky here, kind of like stutters as he moves forward, and that will increase your speed. Now while I've been doing this, you may have noticed that I've been using action-based combat in order to fight everything around here, these mobs and whatnot. The action-based combat works similar to Terra, Neverwinter, etc., in that you kind of lock onto an individual once you've hovered over them. There is no reticule on the screen, but you will be planted in one area and you won't move around very quickly. In fact, you won't move around at all while you're swinging, so you do have to sort of stop attacking, move to evade abilities and whatnot, and then continue using your abilities. One sort of unique aspect of the game is the combo system, which reminds me a little bit of the combo system from, say, Aeon, where essentially you can chain your auto attacks into your abilities and your abilities into your auto attacks, and all of them combined will create sort of new abilities and new effects. So you notice in the bottom right hand corner here, you'll see it says bash and destroy is what it's basically trying to say. And what that is essentially is, as I continuously swing, you notice that the right hand will actually change to other abilities, and all of those are sort of available for me to chain together to create new effects. Some of them heal me, other ones knock enemies back. I also have a parry that if an enemy hits me, I can then use the right mouse click because it will change and it will knock an enemy back as well. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up all these quests in this area. Now some quests do actually require you to pay attention. Some of them do have sort of specifics, like I need you to go here and talk to this specific thing, or activate this in order for you to complete the quest line, etc. But I'm just picking up a lot of these quests. The quests are very sort of typical of most MMORPGs. A lot of them are fetch or kill quests. Some of them have you do sort of interacting with the environment. There was one where I had to collect a bunch of giant crabs. In order to do that, I had to lure them. Crafting food. Let's see, can I craft food? Obtain minced meat platter. Alright, I think I've already done that, so I can just go ahead and talk to her again. And I guess that was it. Alright. So there is, of course, crafting in this game as well. The way that crafting works, let's go ahead and just mount up here on a dragon really quickly. If you notice, when I hit M, I can show exactly where I need to go in all of these areas here to complete my quest, which is a nice sort of handy feature to basically tell you, hey, this is where, you know, a certain quest mob is, etc. Eagle here. This looks like it's sort of like a continuation of the storyline quest because it's a little bit different color than the typical green. Alright, so where is that? So it looks like I need to find a bunch of things, get some Lotus Reeds. I mean, look at all these kind of kill, collect quests available in the game. Action combat itself, if I was going to compare it to, say, Terra or any other action-based MMO, I would sort of have a hard time saying that it is definitively action-based because of the fact that you sort of lock onto characters as you fight. But you can cleave enemies, you can hit multiple enemies with your attacks. In fact, you often do that as a guardian when you use a two-handed weapon, because you'll sort of cleave left and right. Alright, so I gotta kill steel-clawed hunting spider. I do have to kill these things here. And I, of course, cannot actually tame a hunting spider, because a hunting spider is not actually a drake or a dragon or anything like that. Now, one of the main issues that I do have with this game is the fact that their attacks, the enemy's attacks, aren't often telegraphed. So it's very hard to tell sometimes whether or not an enemy is going to hit you with something that you need to sort of get out of the way of. Sometimes you can see them rearing up, but say, for example, in comparison to Terra or Neverwinter, it can be quite difficult at times. Some of the animations are a little bit subpar. You notice oftentimes some of my animations for my abilities don't really have a lot of spell effects to them or telegraph to them, so you really can't tell what a specific ability is doing other than you can see him do a slight animation. For example, if I jump up, I can actually do a jump sort of dash down attack where I slam down on the ground, but it's not very impactful. You'll see here I can do even a double jump, and then that brings up a new attack, but it's sort of a very lackluster ability, if you will. So solid hearthwood, is this for crafting? Sometimes in dealing with crafting, the way the crafting works is you don't have to, say, pick up specific crafting. See, that guy right there just used a telegraphed attack, but I barely could see it. It just looked like he was rearing up for a normal attack there for a second. But sometimes when you kill enemies, you're able to skin them and use that to craft new items. You can also, say, find ore that's near the mountains and whatnot, and pick that up to use in crafting as well. There's no need for you to go and pick up a skinning knife or anything like that in order to craft. You just got to find the craftable materials around the environment. Alright, gonna so pick up another one of these. Looks like I got to get 6 of these in general. So these aren't necessarily for crafting, it is for a specific quest. But again, it's just all dealing with a lot of kill and collect quests. Although I do like the fact that everything's sort of grouped nicely, so you can quickly do several quests at a time. Just by being in the general area. Alright, so just keep getting these. Now, let's go ahead and find ourselves a dragon. So that's a dragon, which looks sort of like a rhino mixed with some type of buffalo, is a dragon. Now, this guy should allow me to go underwater because he is a drake, and as you can see, he goes into some type of drake sort of swim animation, which is quite cool. Now, I think there's like a giant spider or something I've got to kill over here. Ah, so there's a flying dragon right there, which I haven't, of course, owned or collected yet. And that brings in sort of the MMO sort of Pokemon aspect of the game. Each of the dragons, when you capture one, will have a randomized set of stats within reason, obviously. These stats will basically define each dragon as separate or different from each other. So even if you collect 2 drakes, those 2 drakes will have different stats. Some of them will maybe even have different abilities. See, how did I aggro that guy? I don't even understand. Alright, so I'm going to bring out my wyvern here. Now, you'll notice that my blue bar will go down slightly. And what that blue bar is basically my mana. It recharges if I'm out of combat. Ooh, looks like I stunned. Oh my god, I almost died. Looks like a little bit of lag there. It'll recharge when I'm not attacking or if I'm out of combat, obviously. It is a little bit annoying because, as you'll notice, it sometimes will go down just by using my auto attacks. Which I'm not really sure what dictates whether or not it goes down after every auto attack, or if there's like special sort of debuffs that players place on me, or sorry, enemies place on me, which prevent me from regenerating it. But it is sort of disjointing to have to stop attacking for a couple seconds to allow it to regen. Because keep in mind, there are no auto attacks in this game. Even your left and right mouse clicks, those essentially are auto attacks, and they're more chained abilities than anything. Alright, so how many more? I gotta get 2 more of those and 2 more spiders. Alright. Now you may notice an ability on my skill bar that has sort of claws around it. That's an ability that's bound between me and my dragon. So certain abilities are sort of combo abilities that you can do with your dragon at the same time. Oh, it looks like my dragon just despawned, unfortunately. So I have to now wait 53 seconds to use him again, or I can call up another dragon. Currently, I can have up to 2 dragons. But you can go to like a dragon stable, essentially, place a dragon there and have it learn new abilities, have it go fetch craftable materials for you. It's sort of like an offline progression system. So I've gone ahead and completed that quest, and I need to kill 2 more spiders. So I can bring out my other dragon here and start fighting with this guy. this guy here is quite powerful. He does a lot of damage. I'm really enjoying this Drake. Now, you can also put 2 different dragons into the sort of dragon stable, which is in sort of main. Ooh, battle cry, nice. I learned a new ability. I also learned a new combo ability, stamping bolt, and electric drive. I think is what the other one was called. All right, so I got to kill 1 more of these steel claw things. You do, in terms of your customization when you level up, you can't really choose what new abilities you get. Instead, what you do is you choose where to put passive points into things like strength, intelligence, dragon affinity, which is how basically how long you can keep a dragon out, rather. And then there are things like, ooh, bag's full, unfortunately. So I can bring it up here. If I hit C, you can notice Dragon Affinity. What was that? Is that an airship? Okay, that's pretty cool. Reminds me of the Zeppelins from World of Warcraft. Dragon Affinity here increases magic defense. There's Charisma, which extends the dragon's combat time and provides a boost to their basic attributions. So I've been putting points into that, as well as Strength and Constitution, which are sort of my main focused areas. Let's go ahead and just keep putting points in there. I'm sure there's like a min-max for optimal DPS or certain things that people will find out as they continue on. But for now, I've just been putting points into sort of like what I want to define my character as, which I think is actually pretty cool, that you can sort of put points into like, okay, I want to be more focused on my dragon. I want to have my dragon out more. I don't want to do as much damage, but I want to sort of beef my dragon up as much as possible. Or you can be like, oh, my dragon will be a supportive unit. You know, he can come out and do buffs and whatnot. But I'm going to be providing the main source of DPS. Now, there is supposedly, I don't have enough space in my backpack. Ugh. This is another thing I've had happen to me quite often, is you often get a lot of stuff and not too many opportunities to sell it at times. You've been collecting stuff out in the wild quite often. Alright, so we've got more potions there. They give you quite a lot of potions, which you'll need, because the enemies do deal quite a lot of damage. A lot. I'm saying quite. Alright, so now look. Now I gotta get 6 spiderwebs. So, again, it's more of the sort of collection quests, attack quests, etc. So let's go ahead. Now, in order for me to capture a dragon, I have to have room. So if I hit escape here really quickly, I can show you what options I have at the top. This is the dragon stable here, where as you can see I have 2 dragons. I have not activated the 3rd slot. Apparently this will cost me 20 station cash, which is the currency, cash up currency in Sony's, or that Sony utilizes. I don't know if you get more at later levels, and this is sort of just allowing you to get another one earlier on, or if you're just locked at 2 in general. Keep in mind you can also put one in that sort of corral or whatnot in a major town. Now you can also equip them with different items and gears to sort of level them up, and all these stats here will change. Even if I get another Omen Raptor Dragon, it'll have different stats here depending on just whatever it's been randomized. Here's the sort of abilities that go with it here: Shattering Strike, Current Strike, and Fiery Hunting, which sears the target, causing damage over time. But it also gives me increased efficiency on herb farming, which is one of the sort of collection skills that you automatically know. So you do get the opportunity to, say, get more resources of a certain type when you have one dragon out, versus another dragon which may be better at collecting ore or collecting skins or something like that. So it's not just about dragon abilities that deal in combat. There's some out of combat abilities that you get access to, or passives that you get access to as well. So besides the passive increases that you can do with stats, you also at level 15 get access to this sort of table of passive abilities that you can put points into. These aren't really abilities so much as they are augmenting your already existing abilities. Things that increase like your physical defense, you can increase your specific damage of specific abilities. That kind of masteries are what this whole tree works with. And interestingly, you can have multiple sets of masteries, so you can basically change that to fit whatever sort of combat situation you're about to go into. So you can be a tank with one set of masteries, and with another set of masteries you can be focused on DPS, which I think that's pretty nice that you actually gain access to 2 separate. Now I'm going to go ahead and try to find us a dragon here to tame, so you can see how the dragon works. It is essentially a mini game of sorts whereby you mount the dragon and you try to just basically hold on to it as much as possible while taming it. Now at higher levels, let's see if I can actually capture one of those dead scale dragons. I'm not actually sure if I can capture these because they are dust scale rather, but we'll try. So in order for me to do this, I have to bring up the area here, and which dragon do I want to keep? This one has way more stats than this one. I have to say. So I'm going to have to go ahead and release the dragon. You can, of course, compare dragons to see their differences, but let's see if I can jump on top of this dragon here and capture it. Now I need to hit 7 here in order to capture it. So I can go up and say, I'm not able to capture that dragon. Dang it, these are like the actual cool looking dragons. So some dragons you can't capture, some of them are... Why are you attacking me? I didn't even attack you. Ugh. You'll often have dragons just start, or just monsters start attacking you, even if they're not, you know, necessarily aggro to you. It seems like if you kind of get in their way. I don't think he was actually a red mob. I think he was yellow when I first attacked him, and I'm taking a lot of damage. Gonna have to use a potion there. Alright, so I know where there's some dragons we can actually capture. So I've gone ahead and killed those again. Looks like there's a bear. So it's not just about killing dragons. There are, of course, normal wildlife and whatnot. Go ahead and pull up here. This guy's asking me for party, but sorry, bro. I gotta run away because I gotta find me a dragon. You know, for a game called Dragon's Prophet, you would expect more dragons in here all the time. But there's all this deer-eating stuff. Steel-clawed hunting spire. I think the questing is honestly one of the least strong points or aspects of the MMO. It reminds me a lot of like Terra, go fetch this, go kill this, etc, etc. Granted, there is some pretty cool, that's a pretty cool looking rhinoceros beetle. Awesome. There are some pretty, are there any dragons over there? I can see a guy mounted on a dragon, but I don't see any dragons for me to collect myself. Alright. Let's go ahead and turn this in since I'm right here anyways. More quests. At least there's tons of quests for you to do. No grinding necessary here. We'll come up. Now, man, there are just like no dragons in this area. Wait, is that a dragon? Alright, gotta kill this bear and then I can actually get this dragon here. See, right there, I didn't really get too much time to move out of the way of that. Use abilities. He kind of did it again. He just automatically rears. I mean, look how fast he rears up. I don't really get much time to move at all. Okay, come on. Oh man, I'm almost gonna die again. Gotta use a potion. Man, these things like absolutely destroy. Alright, so here's the dragon. It's level 14. I'm level 11. It does play a little bit part in terms of your level. So I can mount this guy here. And the higher difficulty dragons actually will do more to try to buck you off. But this dragon here, I basically just have to keep in the middle by using the WASD keys. And as long as my gold meter doesn't run out by the time my red meter fills up, I'll be able to collect and capture a dragon. And I believe this is another one of the gliding dragons. Yes, it is. So now I've got this new dragon here. And if I wanted to, I can hit escape. Let's go ahead and just get out of the way of danger here. And glide over all these guys. Suckers! I'm out! I really want a flying dragon though, because obviously you can just fly over all these pesky guys. Some people actually just bypass all of these areas here in order to go to area where they can capture a flying dragon, and so they can just fly around. Now you may have noticed that thing that came up on the screen. That is a public quest. They work somewhat similar to the Guild Wars 2 public quests, whereby they have chained events, and each sort of event phase, if you complete it, leads to the next. Some of those are, again, just really just deal with capturing or killing a certain amount of enemies. Other ones are dealing with collecting certain things. Let's see, do I gotta get some stuff off these guys? Spiderwebs from these guys? I mean, it's more of just killing stuff. So you're not gonna be, you know, killing. There are some, I will have to say, I have seen at higher ranks, there are some special public events, if you will, that do have you fight large sort of in-bosses, much like you would in, say, Guild Wars 2. But I have found that at least for a small party of like 3 or 4 people, they're not very difficult. Again, this is still closed beta, so there is a chance for all that to change. But I didn't find a lot of challenge in that, at least with the characters that I was playing in the press event. Alright, so again, I just collect these steel spider webs, not wegs, and then continue. And then I gotta kill some more of these guys in order to get more of these stuff. And I still have to kill 2 more steel-clawed hunting spiders. I mean, sometimes you'll find, or you'll get quests rather, that'll have you go into these dungeons, and you can do the dungeons either by yourself or with other people. I found that the dungeons are completely completable, at least the early ones I've seen, by yourself. But they do offer challenges, and there are sort of elite monsters in there, if you will. Now here's an example of the pairing. So I can hold this up here, and well, my dragon's doing a good job of actually keeping this guy. Alright, so there's the parry, and if you notice, once he hit me, it activated a new ability, which I could then bring up. Come on. I get knocked down so often. And you'll see sort of those little buff system, you know, little tooltips that aren't exactly finished popping up on the screen a lot. And it looks like I got a pure Dragon Shard magical defense. Alright, so let me explain sort of a little bit of the augmentation abilities or crafting abilities available in the game. So if I go to shard embedding here, which is J, what I can do is I can take any piece of armor I have and I can click on it and it will show however many areas I can place a dragon shard. So in this case I only have one, and if I look over here I can say, oh, I have physical defense, I have magical defense. I'm going to add physical defense because these guys all do physical damage to me. And I hit OK, and as you can see, I've augmented my gear, so it now increases my physical defense an additional 28, up to 278. So you can do this with all these different shards that you collect as you sort of progress through the game, and they'll drop those. Outside of this, there are, of course, the crafting, which I can show. Different crafting tabs depending on which recipe or which sort of crafting materials that you've accrued at the point. And I want to see, I just want to see everything. There we go. Alright, so here's some of the different things that you can actually collect and do. You'll need sort of coarse leather, coarse cloth. You get those from skinning certain monsters. But again, I don't know, it doesn't really tell you. You're not able to skin every single monster. Dragon unsummoned due to the time limit being exceeded, alright? You're not able to skin every single monster. It just sort of tells you whether or not you can skin one by leaving the corpse behind. Alright, so I gotta summon my Drake here. Use my special attack, which is honestly very lackluster. I just kind of do this general little cleave thing in front of me. A little bit of damage, but the animations at times, some of them are really stylized. I can see the combat quest is quite stylized, but other times you just don't get a lot of feedback with your abilities, which I feel is a really big oversight. Is this game ready for open beta? Honestly, I don't think so. I think it needs a lot more time in closed beta, at least to get, come on, I mean, tooltips. Generally speaking, open beta usually means release, and they're already sort of touting some of the founder features, or founder packs rather, that you can purchase, which would indicate that they're moving towards a full release and not just an open beta period whereby you play and then they're going to wipe it after that for full release. So I would definitely say they need to hold off, at least if they're going to do this. See right here, the Deriarca Bastille. There we go. That is a dungeon that you can go ahead and do. And let's see if this big monster over here, this bloodless hunting spider, is actually available. I gotta kill one more of these things though, just to finish this quest before I finalize this. So what are some of the other features of the game? Well, there is player housing. It's persistent player housing, and that sort of goes into the frontier system, whereby you can have a house that is actually out in the open. Other people can see it. You know, it's not instanced or anything like that, which is a pretty strong feature. Some of the housing are actually available in the sky, so you fly up to where your player housing is. There are dungeons for you to do. I would assume there's also raids, PvP as well. There's PvP with your drakes or with your dragons. Unfortunately, air PvP, flying in the air. It looks like he's been killed multiple times. This thing, it keeps getting farmed. It looks. Why are you no here? Dang it. Unfortunately, I don't think flight combat is going to make it into the game at launch, from what I've read, which is a little bit saddening. Look at this. I can go underwater. That's so awesome. So some drakes can do that, some others can't. Have I got anything? Investigate the cave that Eagle mentioned. Is that the cave? I guess it's the cave. Why don't we just go investigate that cave, since it's better than killing a bunch of spiders over and over again. And I'll switch to my other dragon, because I like to be able to glide. Alright. Let's go and invade these guys right here. Use my little speed boost. And the animation is just so wonky. Like, you kind of lurch forward every, 20 meters or so. At least I can glide. Come on. I'm like holding invisible reins. You see my guy's arms just like flailing out to the side. Oh, need to get back on that. I'm not engaged in combat. Dang it. Alright. In terms of graphics, the graphic quality is somewhat similar to Raiders, I'd have to say. Not quite as good as Terra, but certainly comparable to Raiders in most down. Alright, so this is the home of the mutated. It just basically says how long until the event actually begins yet again. Curiously, it's pretty much the same event every time. You don't actually get an opportunity to have randomized events in an area. How do I get in there? Ah, here it is. Let's fly over there. You don't have randomized events. It pretty much is the same public event every time, so it will get old. And there isn't really a lot of variance, although it's better than nothing. It's better than just doing the same quest over and over. Alright, so I gotta investigate this, right? So I guess I just kill these things before we actually finalize our first look here. So a lot of customization options for your dragon. They have not lied there. There's quite a lot for you to do. Come on, where's my... Dude, where's my dragon? Where's my dragon? Come on. Stun them. Do stuff. Do stuff! I don't know how I like got all these guys on me at once. Gotta use another potion soon. Let's see if we can do this before we die. Let's keep kiting back here. Some dragons actually have heals that they can put on you. That or over time. I had a dragon previously that could do that. But you do definitely need your health potions. Your dragons are very strong though. They make up a lot of your DPS and a lot of sort of your utility at times. Kill all these alchemists here. Practicing alchemy without a license. Penalty death. And then let's just get this rat in here as well. One more alchemist. There we go. I've cleared the alchemy out. And did I complete that quest? I did. Alright. So the air is here is really bad. Let's talk outside. Well, okay. I let out a fart. I'm sorry. It kind of, I guess it, you know, it would get trapped in here. It is a cave of sorts. Alright, so have the conversation. The trace and mysterious stranger. Incomplete NPC speaking. Okay, so maybe I have to kill everything there, but it seems like I would have completed that quest. So this is, again, sort of some of the bugs that I was talking about. Things don't have all the chat text involved. Unless they're planning on pushing out a really big patch soon. There is quite a lot for them to do. But guys, that's going to be my first impressions here of Dragon's Prophet. If you guys want to know more about the game, I highly suggest you check down below at MMOBomb.com for the full game profile, like I said before. Otherwise, just wait until, oh, there it goes. Otherwise, just wait until May 30th when you can try it out yourself when it goes into open beta. This has been Spunkify, and I'll see you guys next time. Spunkify out. Later, guys.